Welcome to Living in Victory Everyday podcast with your host, Gwen Goolsby-Tillery, where we engage in real and authentic conversations to help you transform your life spiritually, mentally, and emotionally.
Welcome to Living in Victory Every Day. I'm so glad that you decided to join us again for another episode of Live. I'm so excited to have our guest on today, Mr. Skip Bailey. He has done and is doing some amazing things. And so welcome to Living in Victory Every Day podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm originally from Cape Charles, Virginia, which is on the eastern shore, just past Delaware, just before Virginia Beach. That long bridge, the bridge, that water that scares everybody, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Yeah. Getting scared already. I'm right from that area. Moved to Trenton, New Jersey when I was around 10 years old with my mother, my father, my parents. Lived in Trenton for years. Joined the military. I went to high school in Trenton, of course. Military, and right now I'm currently living in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. So that's a little bit about me, just a little bit.
Right, yeah. Very, very little bit. So give us a little bit more in terms of your business, what you're looking to do in terms of business and your coaching.
Okay, as far as with coaching, one of the things that I do with coaching, and I'm a certified, I have my certification as a life coach and a certified drug and alcohol recovery coach. I use the title drug and alcohol recovery coach, but I, alter the life coaching title a little bit because so many people are using that title. A lot of people aren't certified. A lot of people are watering it down, making it not look good for the people who are really, put the work in. So I changed my title, of course, to the mindset coach, because no matter what it is, even with life coaching, it still starts with the mind, no matter what, anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So pretty much a mindset coach. And when I do talk to people, to clients, to sit down and talk to different individuals, I let them know that, we're really here to focus on shifting the mindset. Mm-hmm. Because no matter what happens, no matter how far we want to go, even make an attempt to take a step, we have to really shift that mindset first. We have to go direct to the source. So, mindset coaching, that's what I really focus on.
Right. Nothing changes until you decide to change your mind, no matter what the situation is, whether it's you're trying to get healthy, whether you're trying to do something different in your career. Right. Everything starts in the mind. And so you're right. If your mind doesn't change, if there's not that paradigm shift in your thinking, then pretty much the situation will remain the same.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So how did you get involved in life coaching? You said you were in the military. So from the military to life coaching. So how did that come about?
Well, actually, once I finished my 3-year term in the military, back in, I think it was like 2000, the early 2001, 2002, I really started reading a whole lot of books. And I wasn't reading those books to learn life coaching. I was reading those books. Most of the titles of the books that I was reading was How to Get Rich. Honestly, that's where it started from, because I was working at a job, quote, good paying job, but I wasn't satisfied. And I knew this wasn't, where I wanted to be. And so I just started, and it started actually from the infomercials. 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night, watching different people like Tony Robbins and other people. And I started, buying books and reading books, how to get rich, how to do this, how to, whatever. And I finally realized that, you have to be rich in your mind first. I can read all day long about how to get rich financially with the paper, but if I'm not rich here in the mind and in the heart and the body and soul, the other stuff is not going to happen. So that's pretty much where it started from the infomercials, reading those books. And then after I realized that, reading all of those books, and telling you, Gwen, I was reading so many books and I was highlighting everything, because a couple of guys at work, they used to, tease, make fun of me. They were like, they couldn't find me on my lunch break or whatever. I said, well, where he's at? He's somewhere coloring. No, I was highlighting. So they called me the coloring man. But after I realized, that, I wasn't really making a whole lot of progress, which I thought I wasn't, but actually I was. I was making a lot of progress, getting rich, being a rich person. I started, looking at other books in reference to one of the other books I can remember was Don't Sweat the Small Stuff.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that was one of the, it was a little small book. I think it was maybe a couple hundred pages, but then that one book right there really kind of like triggered everything, because I was really in the past sweating the small stuff. And with the small stuff really don't really matter,
At the end of the day,
it doesn't really matter, yeah.
Right. Okay, so this is around 2002, so you start reading, and you start really changing your mindset in the midst of this reading that you're doing, and you're pretty much getting yourself in tune. You're almost providing your own coaching.
Absolutely.
Right. So through that reading, you're providing your own coaching to kind of change your mind and change your thinking and kind of get you on track to some of the things that you wanted to do. So that was 2002. So what kind of happens between 2002 and 2020?
Well, actually, that same job that I was working at, they shut down and relocated to Florida, I believe. And during that time, I was introduced to multi-level marketing, direct sales. That's one of the things the industries and that environment helped me to shift also. Because no matter what, even with that, the finances, the products that they have, I really focus on the personal development. Because even with that, all of the trainings that I used to go to, that I started going to when I got involved, the trainings, the workshops, those trainings and workshops, even though I was with those companies, they did not really mainly focus on the products or the money. They focused on mindset and personal development. And I realized that, after during that time, that's when I really, how I came about getting my certification as a life coach, from reading those books, and I've decided I was doing some research, I was Googling, and I came across a company and I registered. But even with that, I didn't realize how important personal development is. So that personal development and the mindset coaching it goes together. It's like ice cream and cake.
Absolutely.
Peanut butter and jelly. For real, it really is.
Absolutely.
It really is. So from there, with the direct sellings, with the personal development, going through those different courses, and then I realized that I wanted to do more. And during that same time, of course, I wrote my first book. Well, I guess we'll talk about that soon. But I was still trying to figure out which direction I was going to go in. And actually, it was a young lady that I was working with at the time. She says, why don't you really focus on also some of the things that you've done in the past that you've grown from? And one of those things is my past drug addiction. So that's how that drug and alcohol recovery coach came about. Because it was nothing I really had to learn to teach someone, to help coach someone. I've lived it. I lived it for so many years. And I, survived it. I moved away from it. And that's, in reference to the drug and alcohol recovery coach, that's where that came about also, how that came about.
Okay, so you mentioned that you wrote your first book, so you're an author.
Yeah.
So tell us about your books, how it came to be that you even decided to write your first book, and how many books you have. Tell us a little bit about your journey as an author.
Okay. I never planned on writing any books at all. Okay. My very first book was written in 2013. I first started writing in 2013, which wasn't planned. I was at work one night at a different job, and I was just sitting there one night, and I do believe that everything happens for a reason. And I believe that God gives us a nudge, give us some signs, and I was paying attention. I didn't understand the sign at first, because what I'm getting at is my first book. My title on book is entitled "You Are Outstanding and Unstoppable." Okay, how that title came about is the outstanding, of course, goes back to the life coaching, all the stuff I've learned. Because in order to excel, you have to be outstanding, but you have to believe it also. Right. You have to believe it. Unstoppable, how that second title, part of the title came about was I was sitting at work one night. I was working in a manufacturing place where we do juice, and one of the intersections had a stop sign there. And that's seriously, that's exactly how it came about. Unstoppable, because, and then of course, I know what unstoppable means. I know what outstanding, but I just Googled it anyway. So the definition of unstoppable is you cannot be stopped, or it can't be stopped. Can't be stopped. So that's why I chose that word, unstoppable. That was my first book. The second book was written 2 years later, 2017. 3 years later, 2017, which is He Can't Make You Happy. Okay. How that book came about, and like I said, not one of these books were planned, none of them. Actually, I was going through a situation, and I was on the phone with my brother. Actually, it was the day of my birthday. I was on the phone with my brother, and I was telling him, he was living in Hawaii at the time. He asked me what did I want for my birthday, and I told him nothing, because I have everything. And I am, right now, to this day, I believe that all the things that I need and that I don't have in my life, no one can give it to me. I have to give it to myself. With the help of God, I have to do that. So I was telling him that I don't need anything, everything I already have. And I said, well, there's one thing, if anything, it'll be something that no one can give me. Just that moment, that title popped in my head. Seriously, He Can't Make You Happy. But I ended up changing the title because after the book was published, after I was doing book signings, and when couples would come to my table, I would get mixed emotions, mixed signals from the couples. The lady, the fiance wanted to stop and read the book, but her husband, they're looking at the title, or boyfriend, we're not stopping at this table because of the title. So I changed the title. Same content, same meat and cheese and lettuce and tomatoes. I just changed the bread. Okay. So now the title is How to Find Happiness in Your Relationship.
Gotcha.
Same content. And that's my second book. I have 3 books. My third book, which was just published August 2019, which was pretty much telling my story, my autobiography, and that was entitled From the Fields to the Stage. It came about, from the fields is, a lot of people ask me, were you working in corporate? No. Corporate was, the title From the Fields is, I mentioned earlier, from Cape Charles, Virginia, little country southern boy. Right. When I was a little boy, used to work in the fields with my grandmother. On the days that we didn't have school, that was one of the ways that my grandmother earned money to help support us, to work in the fields, picking potatoes, tomatoes, stuff like that. So that's From the Fields. So you were literally in the fields. Yes. Literally in the fields with dirt. Yes. Seriously, for real. From the fields to the stage, from picking potatoes and tomatoes and all those other vegetables to earn money, to speaking on stage and playing music also. Right. And so, okay, that's what I was going to ask you about, because you haven't spoken about your musical career yet. So where does the music come in? When did you start playing an instrument, and when did it get to the point where you were like, not only do I want to play this instrument, but I want to be a part of a band? Well, actually, that all started also from, and I'm dating myself what I'm about to say, that started from me living in Virginia as a little boy, watching the American Bandstand every Saturday morning. Years later, a lot of people watched Soul Train. But before Soul Train was American Bandstand. So I watched American Bandstand, watch James Brown and all those other entertainers. And watching them at a young age, even at, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, I always knew, watching James Brown and the other ones, I knew I wanted to do that. Actually, my focus wasn't playing an instrument. My focus was to be a dancer. Not to play an instrument at all. Wow, okay. Yeah, it was to be a dancer. And I did do that also a little bit. If you read my book, you'll find out what type of dancing I did. We won't talk about that. But even moving to New Jersey, my mother spoiled me, my brother, my sister. So our neighbors up the street from us when I moved to Trenton was from a gospel family. They played gospel music. They had the guitar, the drums, tambourine, or whatever, singer. There was no bass player. So that's how I started playing bass. My father went to, there's a store in Bordentown, New Jersey called Two Guys. He went there to buy a cheap $6 pair of bass strings. Right now, my bass strings cost $50 or more. So those cheap bass strings were $6. And but my mother purchased a regular lead guitar for me, which I didn't know. So my father took a drill and drilled holes in where the strings go and made the holes bigger and put those bass strings through the holes. That's how I started playing bass guitar.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your musical career.
Okay. With that, I've some of the movies that you've seen on TV, in reference to even with the Jacksons, how their father Joe Jackson had the kids in the nightclubs and the bars at in junior high school playing. I lived that same life.
Wow. Okay.
I lived that same life. Me and my friends, my bandmates, when we were in junior high school, I would say like 8th and 9th grade, started from the 8th grade on up to high school. We played in those bars. We played in smoky bars that we weren't supposed to be in, especially on Friday and Saturday nights. My father would take us there, or sometimes our band manager would take us to the bar. I mean, we never did anything wrong or whatever. Well, it was wrong being in the bar.
Right.
It was wrong being in the bar. But we played. But then again, looking back at it now, and we're going to talk about this a little later. I guess you're interviewing me, asking me the question in reference to my purpose is to help people understand that, we all have unlimited possibilities, unlimited talent. We were playing in bars at the age of 13, 14, 15, entertaining adults at that young age.
Right.
And really didn't know what we were doing. We just wanted to imitate the people that we seen on TV. The Isley Brothers, the James Browns, and the Aretha Franklins, all those people like that. And we did it. Later on after that, once I went to the military and got out of the military after high school, I played guitar for Millie Jackson. She was a so-called R-rated show singer.
Yes.
But on playing for bass guitar for Millie Jackson, I also did shows. I did not play with these entertainers. We were on the same showcase with B.B. King and Dennis Edwards of the Temptations, all those other groups. We were on the same showcase with them. That I played with Millie Jackson a little less than a year because I was still working full time at that good paying job. So she would fly me out to different states on Friday night and make sure I was back home on Sunday evening to be back at work Monday morning. Yeah.
Okay, so
very, very interesting.
So you've had a very interesting life. So you've got the author, you've got the music piece, you have the piece of the life coaching, and so now we're in 2020.
Yes.
Let me stop there and ask you. So there's been so many things that, so many good opportunities, it sounds like, that you've had the opportunity to be a part of. And you mentioned the drug addiction too. So I just want to try to get an understanding. So at some point, I guess during your musical career, is that when you kind of got involved with the drugs?
Well, actually, before I started playing, with Millie Jackson, I did. Of course, in high school, I was, smoking marijuana. I was smoking marijuana then and doing a little bit of other light powder, cocaine and stuff like that. And of course, when I went to the Army, of course, I still did drugs. But it didn't really get really to the fatal point, meaning not death, but bad. That's why I say no bad, because all of it's bad. So I use the fatal at the red light, the real bright red light. Was during the time when I was playing with Millie Jackson, working at the same job, and she called me one night and said that, Skip, we have to go to England. And we have to go to England for 4 months. So I had to make a decision to go to England for 4 months, quit my job. I had to quit the job, a good paying job. I just got married a couple of months before that. My son, Skip, was like 6 months old, so I had a newborn child, just got married, good paying job. And I had to make a decision, and within 24 hours, I called her and told her I wasn't going. That's when things really got bad, because I beat myself up for not going. So cocaine became my friend.
Right.
I mean, really bad.
Kind of your way of escape.
Yeah, my escape, really bad, yeah.
So again, just to try to get the understanding of the drug addiction, because, of course, the end of this conversation is, how did you move on from that. So do you think that your background, your history with being in the bars, in the club, do you think any of that exposure played a part in your early parts of using drugs or getting involved with drugs? Do you think that it kind of, because I'm guessing in those scenes it was kind of maybe a little more acceptable in those scenes, you know, in the music industry versus, you know, if you were just on a regular job. Do you think that played any role in it?
Partially, not much.
Okay.
Because I know in the past, especially back in the 80s, the 90s, a lot of people would, you know, that stigma, you know, musicians are all drug addicts or whatever, which was not true. Myself, honestly, since I've been coaching myself and going to therapy, I went to a rehab not to get clean from drugs to save my job, but since I've been coaching myself and coaching other people, because once you realize when you coach other people, you're learning also.
Absolutely.
You're learning also. But I realized and found that after I finished peeling the layers back from my own self and digging deep down for myself, I was covering up hurt that I didn't know that I had.
Right.
You know, from childhood hurt. I was covering a lot of that up. Because even with, before moving to New Jersey, I didn't mention the juke joints that I used to, that we used to go to as a kid, but that was the normal then. But they was all just beer, cigarettes, and liquor. There was no marijuana. I've never heard of marijuana until I moved to New Jersey.
Okay.
Never heard of it. So with the music scene, just played slight part of the drugs. And that was mainly just marijuana. As far as with the other drugs and stuff, as far as me, how that came about with my life is me hanging around older boys.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to clear it up because, you know, a lot of people do associate, you know, drugs and alcohol with the music industry. And so, you know, I wanted to make that clear that was or was not a contributing factor, because that's often, the thinking, the processing of people is that, you know, when you're involved even in music or even, you know, in Hollywood, any of those scenes like that, that it's always going to be drug and alcohol involved, and that's going to be the thing that kind of pulls you in. But a lot of times, like you say, it is really the underlying issues that kind of get you pulled in, not necessarily the setting that you're in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, there is, even though with the, like I said, with the Hollywood, with the music scene, there are drugs there, but it's not it's not the thing that draws people into, you know you're going to be a musician, you're going to play here, you know, you have to snort some coke before you play. No, that's not true. Right.
No. So with all of that, what's been one of the most defining moments in your life?
One of the most defining moments was one night, this was probably maybe like 25 years ago, when I was out getting high. I was playing for a band in Princeton, because I lived like 5 minutes from Princeton. I was playing in a wedding band, and we played a lot of corporate and wedding gigs. And one night I was in a section in Trenton, getting high on cocaine, buying crack cocaine and buying those things. But I also had a tuxedo on because I was supposed to have been at a wedding reception. I was at a wedding reception. I was supposed to have been at a wedding reception playing a gig with the band, but I was in the Dolly Homes in the Trenton section getting high. And that night, you know, honestly, I knew all along, I knew I wanted to stop. Like I said before, I went to a carrier clinic, to a drug rehab to get clean, but I went to save my job. But leading up to that, I knew I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do this anymore. And it wasn't that I was a casual drug user. I've sold a couple of bass guitars. One night I gave up my whole income tax check for cocaine. It's in my book. I did a lot of things. I rented my grandmother's car out to drug dealers to go to New York for cocaine. But one night when I was in the Dolly Homes and I was getting high, I sold everything I had, my pair of $200 sunglasses, watch. I even sold a pair of binoculars one night for drugs. Wow. Yeah. And after I sold everything, I left. I got up off the floor where I was sitting on the floor smoking. I had a tuxedo, a nice trench coat. I was dressed up, crazy. And I went home, and I didn't go home because I couldn't go home because my ex had locked me out. And I knew that wasn't the place to go anyway because my kids were there, my sons were there. Right. So I went to my mother's house on the third floor where I grew up at. Went on the third floor, took my shoes off, sat on the bed. I said, God, I don't want to do this no more. Laid on the bed with my tuxedo on, woke up the next day, over 27 years later, have not touched it since.
Wow. Without any further treatment.
Never touched it. No treatment, no nothing.
So what? So and I've heard stories like that. We hear those stories. So is it a matter of just mentally deciding I'm done and I want more and I want different for my life?
That, all of the above, but also I'm a spiritual person. It was a spiritual healing. That's what it was. It was a spiritual healing. As a matter of fact, even before that, it's not that I'm promoting my book here, but if a person, you read my book, I talk about me getting locked up before I got out of the Army. I got locked up a week before I got out of the Army because I stole a pair of $6 sunglasses. I had just gotten paid, had over $400 in my pocket. I stole a big guy was testing me before you come back home. So that week, and I think before I got high, a couple of days before, I smoked weed, I took all types of drugs. Gwen, I could not get high for nothing. God would not let me get high.
Wow.
I was doing it, smoking, snorting, drinking, couldn't get high. It was preparing me. So that night, that life-changing moment you just mentioned was when I laid on the bed and said, God, I don't want to do this no more. I stopped spiritual healing. He took it away from me, just like that.
And I believe it's, you know, the Bible's very clear. When we decide that we want to just truly surrender and like kind of throw up our hands and say, you know what, God, you know what, I'm just giving it all to you. Yeah. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. That's when the change will begin to take place. But as long as we're trying to fight and we're trying to do it on our own, we really don't have the strength to do it. It really does take God to be able to come in and say, okay, watch what I'm going to do now that you recognize what I can do.
Yeah. And you know, there's another part to it also, because that's just like, that was the main, it's the icing on the cake when God did that for me. But when people because I'm pretty sure there are people going to be watching this or listening to this who will say, you know what, I say this all the time, I don't want to get high no more. There's something more to it. Yeah, there's more. You have to really, like I said earlier, start peeling back those layers inside. But you need help. You have to ask for help.
Yes, that's key.
You have to ask for help. And it may not be some of the people that you think you can ask for help from, whether it's relatives, because they only know you as Bobby or whomever. You need to ask for help from a person who has experience, not even just a drug addiction experience, past experience, for his coaching. You need to just seek guidance and help from people who know the pathway to guide you in the right direction.
That's really important. Especially, you know, within the African American community, we are often reluctant to seek professional help, especially as it relates to things like addiction and mental health. And so that is very key, you know, for someone who's struggling, whether it's with drug addiction or another issue, is that you need to know that, one, it's okay not to be okay, and two, that it is okay to seek help so that you can actually be okay. So tell us a little bit, you know, COVID-19 and this coronavirus this pandemic has stopped us from doing some things that, you know, we had on the agenda for this year. I know you were planning something called a Tri-State Men's Conference. Yes. So tell us about that and how that came about and where things are with that.
How it came about was so many, even going back to when I was promoting my books, wanted to go to different events to set up my tables. And a lot of those events were women conferences. And a lot of them wouldn't allow men in because they wanted to keep it especially for women. And I was like, you know what, I'm getting tired of this stuff. So, but not even just that, that was part of it. But then again, I know a lot of gentlemen who have mentorship programs for the young teens and kids, which is good and all. But my thing is, even from searching with my own self, and of course I have sons and grandsons, there's a saying that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yes, it's good to have the mentorship programs, but if we're mentoring the kids, and if they're still going back home, which is the kids are the apple, they still go back home to the tree, which is the parents, which is totally damaged, almost rotten. So that's just, we need something different. I want a program to put something together for men from all walks of life, whether it's their past, whether it's the ex-drug dealer, whether it's a lawyer, mayor, electrician, baseball player, musician, no matter what it is. I want to put an event and have speakers that are from all walks of life, all different backgrounds also, and which we did have.
Right. Yeah. So you did it via a Zoom, and did Facebook. You put it on Facebook.
Yes. We had, I think there was only 6 of us because a few of the guys couldn't make it. They were doing other things. But we are going to do it again. As a matter of fact, my fiance suggested that we do this quarterly. So we are going to do it quarterly now.
Nice.
Yeah, quarterly, do a Zoom conference until we get back to normal to be able to be in a facility.
So how would they be able to find that on Facebook if they wanted to look it up?
They can go to my Facebook page, Skip Bailey. Bailey is with 2 A's, Bailey.
Okay.
Yeah, the actual Zoom conference that we did back in June, it's actually on my Skip Bailey page.
Okay, so go check it out. I had the opportunity to hear it, and some good information and some men who are just looking to really have an impact on the community. And that's a great thing. It's always a great thing when you can see the men come together and stand united and really talk about, trying to implement change within the community. So it was really a positive thing. So what are some things on the horizon, some things that you're looking to hope to accomplish over the next couple of months and the year ahead?
Well, one of the things is what I'm doing, working on right now is helping people to understand that they can move forward in life. They don't have to constantly wait for someone else to help them. Help yourself. So in reference to the coaching people, the mindset, in reference to help people to learn how to start home-based businesses, help people. And one of the things I want to do also that I'm going to do in the future, that's probably, they say, well, it's on your bucket list. That's on my list, is to start a Believe Big Academy. And I'm going to be focusing mainly on probably from age 17 on up.
Okay.
Yeah. Because one of the reasons is because there are a lot of gentlemen, a lot of men that are even my age or more that are still, you'd be surprised, that are walking around, standing next to you in the store, in the line or wherever, that are still got some stuff going on here that they have not figured out, that have not, corrected since they were a child.
Right.
Carrying around childhood issues. Okay,
good. Looking forward to getting more about that. So tell me, who has been one of your biggest influencers?
There are a lot, but there's one gentleman, he's my mentor. His name is Joe Knight. He's from the Burlington County area. Actually, he moved, he doesn't live anymore. But Joe Knight, from the Willingboro area, used to own Knight's Beauty Supply in the Willingboro area. One of the largest African-American owned beauty supply stores, chains down in the South Jersey area. He's retired now, lives in North Carolina, but his son and his daughter still owns his store in Philadelphia. So Joe Knight. Which he was mentored by himself by Joe Dudley from Dudley's Hair Products.
Wow, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're going to wrap things up. But before you leave, before we close out, I just want to ask you to give some words of encouragement before you leave. So the name of the show is Living in Victory Every Day. So in keeping with that theme, how do we live in victory every day? What words of encouragement can you offer?
One of the main things that I want to encourage is when you first wake up in the morning, put living in victory in your mindset. Even if you have to record it on your phone, even if you have recorded your voice on the phone and set that as your, matter of fact, that's a good idea. Seriously. Make a quick, even if a 30-second victory motivational, and use that as your alarm in the morning to wake you up every morning. So you don't have to listen to the downloaded stuff that's on your phone, or you have to listen to your neighbors or the horn or TV. You wake yourself up along with God. Wake yourself up every morning with some victory talk. And once you go in the bathroom, look that victory person in the eyes in the mirror and start off your day with that victory.
I like that. It's really important, one, that we be able to encourage ourselves. And two, it's really good to start your day on a positive note. That makes such a big difference in our lives when we start our day saying, you know what, no matter what comes my way, you know what, I already have victory. This is going to be a victorious day. This is going to be a good day, because it changes your mindset then through the course of the day. So when something comes, you're already like, no, I decided when I woke up this morning, this was going to be a good day. So it is going to be a good day, and I'm not going to let anything
Absolutely.
disrupt that. I'm going to be unstoppable.
Absolutely.
So before I close out, there's so many things we have in common. Of course, the coaching piece, but I only met Skip like a year ago. It's been about a year, but we really connected because there are so many things that we have in common. Of course, the passion to be able to encourage people to change their mindset. And so after the fact, I realized that one of your things was be unstoppable, because that was actually my women's conference theme last year, was be unstoppable. Along the same terms, like you just got to get in your mind, no matter what comes my way, no matter what happens, I'm unstoppable. I'm just not going to let anything stop me from achieving what it is that my mind has set out to achieve. So I thank you for being a part of Living in Victory Every Day. I'm so glad you were able to come on. Before we end, I just want to remind everybody that you can live in victory every day. All you need to do is remind yourself that God is still in control, God loves you, and there is still a plan for your life. No matter what the situation or circumstance may look like, God still has a plan for you. And when He created you with that purpose and that plan. So know that you can and will be victorious in it if you decide to. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Living in Victory Every Day. Until the next time, peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for listening to Living in Victory Every Day podcast.